We live in a culture that relies on us exchanging consumption for happiness. From TikTok hauls to monthly Amazon finds, there is this constant pressure to always want more, buy more, and constantly chase after the next thing. And I think the craziest part about this level of consumption is that it has become extremely normal within our society. But the truth is that overconsumption is not smart or sustainable. It's not good for our wallets. It is oftentimes not good for our mental health. And of course, it's also not good for the planet. And that's why in today's video, I want to talk about underconsumption. Underconsumption is not about deprivation. It's not about this extreme form of minimalism. It's about bringing as much thought and intention into every single thing that is in your life or you're thinking about bringing into your life, and ultimately just reconnecting with what actually serves us. So today I'm going to be sharing with you everything you need to know about underconsumption. We're going to be talking about the benefits of adopting this mindset. We're going to be talking about my number one core principle to follow if you're just getting started. I'm also going to give you a few examples of how I personally practice underconsumption in my own life. And most importantly, I'm going to be giving you some tips for shifting your mindset and actually keeping momentum long term. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Before I get into my number one core principle about underconsumption, I just want to briefly talk about the actual benefits of underconsuming. Underconsuming is about breaking the cycle of constantly needing more in order to feel satisfied. So one of the biggest benefits for me personally with my underconsumption journey is that when I started to shift my mindset, I began to reconnect and realign with what actually serves me within my life. You're going to feel more grounded in your decisions. You're going to feel less overwhelmed by different choices you have, as well as clutter. And you're going to add something that truly matters the most, at least to me, which is more control over my time, my money, and my energy. Adjusting your lifestyle to consume less is not only going to help you with mental clarity, but it's also going to help you with physical clarity and really help you identify the things that actually matter. So that's just a general overview of some of the benefits that come with adopting this type of underconsumption mindset. And now I want to share with you my number one core principle of underconsumption, like the one thing that you need to keep in mind as you move forward within this journey. And that is this: you cannot and should not buy your way into an underconsumption lifestyle. Let me repeat myself. You cannot and should not buy your way into this type of lifestyle. I experienced this firsthand, and maybe some of you have as well, where once I realized that I need to really slow down and I need to be more intentional, my first instinct was to go out and buy all of the right things in order to make that happen. So for me, a lot of it was these minimalist staples within my wardrobe, or maybe it's these core everyday items that you apparently don't have. But for me, that still just leans into this consumption mindset. And underconsuming doesn't start with a shopping list and going out and buying a bunch of things that you think are going to set you up for success. It's ultimately about a shift within your mind. The goal of this isn't to replace this old version of yourself or these older habits with this more aesthetically pleasing version of you that ends up behaving the same. It's really about pausing and reassessing and actually making space before you are thinking about going and buying something new. So do not listen to anybody who says that you need to buy your way into underconsumption, that you need this one thing to help you with your underconsumption lifestyle. And I'm going to give you some more tips that I think you should keep in mind as you go throughout this journey in a few minutes. But I do want to talk quickly about a few examples of how I like to underconsume in my own life. I spent a lot of my adulthood in this extreme vicious cycle of shopping. I felt like I was always trying to achieve something. I was always trying to match up to this certain lifestyle that I wanted, but that wasn't realistic. And while I am most definitely not perfect, I do feel like I've put in a lot of work to shift my mindset into consuming less. And I'm really proud of the work that I've done over the years, and I've seen such a big shift within my home and my space and my mind and my shopping habits. And I'm just really proud of where I am. So these are some really simple ways that I underconsume. First things first, I have a 2-step skincare process. I wash my face, I moisturize my face, that's it. My skin, I have a ring light on me right now, so I know my skin looks, relatively clear, and it is, but I definitely have a lot of, flaws going on my skin, but nothing that is bothering me to the point where I feel like I need to go out and buy a 10-step solution kit or something like that. So I just keep it real simple, wash my face, moisturize my face, leave it at that. I know that's not the case for everybody. I know we all deal with different skin issues, but there was a point where I was deep within that, multi-step skincare system, and it just was unnecessary for me. Something else is that I only own one water bottle. It might seem kind of silly, but especially with the Stanley craze and with, the heightened interest in collecting water bottles, owning one water bottle probably isn't as normal as we think. A lot of underconsumption is just going back to normal life. That's basically it. Another thing that I've done to help my consumption is I've learned how to say no to any unnecessary gifts or free items. So a good example of this is a few months ago, I needed my concealer from Ulta. I went there, I qualified for a free gift from Clinique, and I just said no to it. I don't need it. I don't want it. It's not going to help me with anything. So I'm not just going to take something and bring it into my life without actually assessing if it's going to serve me. And I just know that most of the time, free things don't. I'm not going to take something and bring it into my life just because it's free. And another thing that I do is I have a library card. So I borrow books from my local library. That's great. I love that I can borrow a book and it doesn't take up a ton of room on my bookshelf. That works for me. So obviously none of these examples are extreme. They're just a part of my daily life now, especially after I've implemented this mindfulness. But these small shifts really do add up. So now let me give you a handful of tips to help you shift that mindset and also to keep momentum. First things first, I want you to use what you already have and replace only what you use. So this kind of ties into the core principle that I was talking about, where it's like, you really just don't need anything more than what you currently have. And then if you end up using things up, you can replace it. I think it's really easy for us to convince ourselves that we need something when we have things that are perfectly good for us at home, whether that's clothes or food or skincare or makeup or whatever. It can be so many different things. One example of this for me is that I have way too many candles right now. So I'm just gonna go through all of them before I decide to go out and buy any more. I also know that I'm gonna be running out of blush soon. So I have one blush stick, or whatever you wanna call it. It's like a liquid one. And I don't have anything more than that. I just have that one. It's reaching the end. And I'm gonna go buy some more once I hit the bottom of it. All of these things sound really small, but they do add up when it comes to shifting that mindset. And once something actually does run out, I want you to ask yourself, did I enjoy using this thing? Did I actually use it to its fullest extent? And if you did, then that is worth replacing. My next tip for you is that if you can't repair or restore it, look towards your community. And if your community can't help you, look to buy secondhand. We have been conditioned to view broken or worn out items as trash. But it's a really good idea to ask yourself, can I fix this? Do a little research on Google, go on YouTube. There are so many resources today that can show you how to fix things. Sometimes things are unfixable though, and that's when I want you to look towards your community. This can be your friends or your family or your neighbors or your local Buy Nothing group. For example, let's say your pair of sunglasses broke. You sat on them, they snapped, you can't fix them for whatever reason. Go to these people and ask if they have an extra pair lying around. Community is also a really great space to borrow from people. If you need something that you know you're not gonna need past 1 or 2 uses, then ask somebody if you can borrow theirs. This could be things like an air mattress if you're going camping, or I borrowed a steam cleaner from my neighbor before. If it's something that you're not going to be using again for a while, just borrow it. And then if you can't find it within your local community, that's when you want to look for secondhand options. So of course, you want to check out your local thrift store, your local secondhand store. eBay is also a really great option to buy things secondhand. So you definitely have options here, but that's the order that I want you to go in. Can I fix this, restore it, repair it, whatever? Can I look towards my community? And if I can't, or if, nobody has an option for me, look for it secondhand. There's way too much stuff in this world for us to jump right to buying new. There are plenty of other options before that. My third tip is to clean out your digital ecosystem. The content that we are consuming shapes our behavior way more than we think. So if you are constantly inundated with a ton of hauls or creators that are pushing you to buy more and more and more, it's going to be really hard for you to shift that mindset. Now, I'm a big advocate for deleting your social media or at least taking an extended break. But if you can't do that for whatever reason, or even if you just don't want to, I highly recommend figuring out who your triggers are and unfollowing them or blocking them. If you want to curate your physical space, then you have to curate your digital space. They overlap way too much. So it's really important to immerse yourself in spaces, whether that is physically or digitally, that encourage peace and intention and just more grounded decision making. My next tip for you is to make sure you're asking yourself better questions before you actually buy. Now, this is where your critical thinking skills are really going to come into play. So the two questions that I like to ask myself if I am going out and buying something is, how does this item align with this higher version of myself? Somebody who values underconsumption, someone who wants to live a more simple life. How is this item aligning with that? If it's something that I feel like I'm going to bring inside my home and basically never see again because I'm never going to use it, or it doesn't serve a rich purpose in my life, then it's not for me. And the other question I like to ask myself is, how will this improve my life? Because of course, we live in a world where there are times where we need to make upgrades, or there are times that we will need to buy things that will make our lives easier. So making sure we're asking ourselves these questions is really important to get down to the bottom of why. My next tip for you is to prioritize your memory bank. I think it's so easy for us to tie this sense of happiness to things that we're buying and acquiring, but many of our most meaningful experiences within our lives aren't tied to what we're actually spending, but more of how we spend our time. And even if money is involved, it does not have to be a lot. You can go to a museum on a pay what you wish day. You can go to a local used craft store and pick up some supplies to do something fun and make something creative. You could borrow some games from a neighbor and host a game night with your friends. And these types of experiences, I personally find, just stay with me way longer than physical stuff actually does. And my last tip for you is to practice gratitude for what you already own. I want you to make a habit to start noticing things in your life that are actually working well. Things like the car that gets you to work every day, the mug that you use to fill up your coffee or your tea in the morning. Maybe you put on a pair of jeans and it fits you just right. There are so many things that we are constantly exposed to in our daily lives that we kind of just brush over because we're so used to them. But these are the things that are quietly supporting your daily life, and they are important. And I know that showing gratitude towards an inanimate object might seem kind of silly, but I don't know. I'm really big on gratitude and showing my appreciation for things. It just makes me feel better at the end of the day. And I think one of the best things about showing gratitude is it shifts your mindset from seeing what you're missing to seeing what you have and what is actually working with you and serving you every single day. Gratitude creates contentment, and contentment is really the foundation of what underconsumption is. All right, you guys, that is the end of the video. I hope this information was helpful for you. Just remember, progress over perfection. We're all at different stages. Some of us are just realizing we're over-consuming. Some of us are deep in the underconsumption lifestyle. Wherever you are, you're doing great. Try not to stress about it and just make these small, simple changes to your everyday life, and you're going to feel much better. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.